Hi guys, Ostrom here, and today we are going to talk about how to beat a Pharah as a Warlock. This video is going to be much more easier and beginner friendly than the previous one, so stay tuned. Before I'm going to start the actual guide, I wanna make a summary slide for those things what I won't include in this video because I've already mentioned in the Mage Guide 1, so I don't really wanna repeat myself over and over. The link will be in the description. Basically, my gear, engine, and gem won't change except the trinkets, what I'm going to talk about in a different section. If you have full best in slot, you should be human. If you are not, you should be orc. Maybe you can try gnome as well. And those are my professions, but feel free to use any of you like the most. First, let's talk about which Warlock spec you should choose against a Feral. Although if you master any of these, I think you can win the duel with all three spec. However, I don't recommend using affliction here as well because you will have lack of damage, defense and lack of CC as well. So Farah can finish you faster than you could burst him down. I think you should either choose Distraction or Demo spec. I think both is really good against Farah, but in this guide I'm gonna talk about the Demo spec only. I know some of you wanna see a distro rock dueling video series as well, and after I finish the demo series, I'm going to start that for sure. I was mainly using my arena talent against the Pharah. I tried the affliction one too, but I felt like the distro demo spec was just better against Pharahs, since these dudes going to be really fast, so you need more burst damage than overall damage. So this is my arena talent. What this talent is missing is a distraction reach one, because if the Pharah starts kiting, without this talent, you cannot reach him, so he can heal himself back to full and reset the duel. So I highly recommend using that talent against the Pharah. Also, you don't need the Nemesis talent as well, since most likely these duels won't last 2 minutes. The same reason why fast energy don't need as well. If you wanna min-max, you should use Aftermath instead of Improve Shadow Bolt, cause you might not use Shadow Bolt in a duel, but you will use Immolate for sure. So the new talent should look like something like this one. You can consider dropping the Dissemination talent and put those extra points either to Demon Brutality for bigger shield and Felguard damage, Demon Pact or Ruin for bigger damage, or improve Succubus. I can say that there is a must glyph what you have to use no matter what, like against the mage, but I'm gonna recommend a few glyph what you can pick against the Pharaoh. So I think one of the main glyph is going to be the glyph of Metamorphosis. With this glyph you will increase your Metamorphosis duration by 6 seconds. I think glyph of Shadow Flame is important as well, because Pharaohs need to use extra global CD to remove the slow effect by shapeshifting it. You will see why it can be really important in the duels. For the third glyph, I think you should use Glyph of Hellstone, but if you wanna increase your damage, then you can use Glyph of Immolate, or Glyph of Insternate, or even Glyph of Corruption. Minor glyph does not matter. You can use offensive trinkets like Fila or CTS to burst the Pharaoh down as fast as you can. You can use DFO as well, if you don't have any of that too. If you are playing with a non-human racial, then I would say Fila is the go-to trinket. But you can play with defensive trinkets as well, like Bubble or Abacus or any other defensive trinket. In my opinion, the best possible combination is either to offensive trinket with defensive glyphs, or Fila and Bubble with offensive glyphs. The reason why I think Fila is superior is because Fila gives you so much spell power than CTS, and it's not a set trinket like DFO. You have 3 dots what you should apply onto the druid. The Curse of the Elements, the Corruption, and the Immolate. These dots should be on the target during the whole duel. Your main damage outside of your form is the casted damage, which one is depending on your procs. If you have Molten Core proc, then you should use Incinerate. If you have Shadow Bolt proc, or no proc at all, you should use Shadow Bolt. When a target is below 25%, you can use your Drain Sword to finish it, or if you have Dissemination proc, then you can use your Soulfire. So your main burst damage is going to be the Immolation Aura while you are in the form. You can increase your burst with Gusted and instant damage. Your instant damage is going to be the Shadow Cleave, the Shadow Flame, the Shadow Burn, and if you have Shadow Burn proc, then that one as well. How to burst? So first you wanna apply your dots to your target, and if you can, land a fear. Then you wanna use your form with Immolation Aura and use your charge to stun the target. If the stun is not DR, then you can cast a spell depending on your proc. If it's DR, then you wanna use your coil to maintain the CC. After the coil, you can either use your Shadow Burn and Shadow Cleave into Shadow Flame, or Shadow Flame into Shadow Burn and Shadow Cleave. Or you can just cast damage as well. It all depends how the druid wanna trade his CDs. For example, if you land the fear and he doesn't wanna use his Trinket or Berserk, then you can just start casting like here. If you use it and start kiting and CCing you, then you wanna use your instant spells like here. But your main CC should be like this one. Fear into stun, into coil, into shadow flame, into refear. But of course there will be situations when you need to improvise your CC chain, like Farah uses Trinket, so you cannot charge him. One extra tip can be that you can always use your port to charge the Farah down, but make sure your port is in the right place. In the mage guide, I was already talking about how to scale up the corruption damage with the affliction demo build. Here, I'm gonna talk about how to scale up your damage with this throw demo build. You can scale up your immolate damage with Aftermath, Demon Impact, Demon Knowledge, a potentially massive Demonologist, and even with the Glyph of Immolate if you wanna use that. So you will have huge immolate dot. With Demon Impact and Demon Knowledge, potentially with Master of Demonologist, you will increase all of your damage like Immolation Aura. Moreover, with Molten Coil and Ruin and Glyph of Incarnate, you can scale up your Incarnate damage as well, so you can shoot Incarnate like this one. Trinket and Cloak proc are really important as well. Make sure you only use Immolation Aura when you have procs. Also, you can reapply your dots for bigger dot damage as well. Your main defense going to be your offense. Here, you don't need to protect your pet since Farah has no time to deal with your pet. Let's see how can you scale up your defense. First of all, Master Demonology is going to reduce all type of damage taken by 5%, similar than Glyph of Souling. You can even scale up that with Molten Skin, Demon Armor, and most importantly, with your form. Your form isn't just for your burst, it's your biggest defense as well, since it's not just reducing your stun duration, it also reduces the chance that you will be critical hit by melee attacks by 6%, and going to increase your armor by 600%. And combo that with Demon Armor, you will have a ton of armor, so while you are in form, you will take so much less damage than you would take as any other spec. And of course your healing spells like Hailstone, Coil, Bubble, or Abacus if needed. You can use two different armor. Your fair armor will increase your damage and it heals you constantly, so when you are about to burst, make sure you are in fair armor. Your demon armor will increase your healing taken and your armor, which you can combine with your form, so when you are about to press Hailstone, Bubble or First Aid, you should switch your armor to Demon Armor. What pet should you use? So Demolock has 5 different pets. I don't recommend using Imp, although Imp has a huge damage with the right talent, Glyph, and procs. But in order to get all those, you need to sacrifice a lot. And you need a good RNG to get the Demony pet early as well. Succubus is an interesting one. Although I didn't really try it before, except a few occasions, but it can be really good in some situations. First, if you get a full Cyclone or Root and Druid goes out of form for heal himself, you can use Seduction to CC him and block his healing. Druid can only break from Seduction if they have a Trinket. Berserker gives immunity for fears and not Seduction. But this isn't a pet what I would consider using at the opener. If you wanna use Succubus, you need to have the improved Succubus talent and the Glyph of Succubus. Since you only need 3 extra talent points, it's not a huge deal, but the Glyphs can hurt you a bit. If you are the Throw or Affliction Lock, you wanna use Voidwalker. Since you will have increased cell detection, so you can find the Pharah in Staff. I'm gonna talk about in a different video how to do that. And you have a huge shield, of course. This shield can be even bigger with a Demony Brutality talent, so Voidwalker can be your opener pet with those specs. A Fellhunter can be good if you have the right RNG. You can purge down the instant proc from the druid. You can also silence C as a druid here and Cyclone. And lastly, you can devour yourself if you get full rooted. So these pets, as for demo at least, can be good if you use them in the middle or in the end of the duel. You can summon it with Fell Domination. But for opener at least, I think Felguard is the go-to pet against Pharahs. Since you have 3 second stun, where you can block the classic Pharah pound stun into meme stun combo. Or if the Pharah uses the Trinket for the combo, you can have a free full coil in your CC chain. Moreover, with Demonic Empowerment, Felguard's going to be immune for slow effects and roots. And of course you can scale up the damage with talents and Glyph if needed. So basically I would recommend using Felguard at the beginning of the duel, and in the later section, depends on the situation, you can use Void to have a huge shield, Fellhunter to CS, devour yourself out for root, or purge the druid proc down. So one of the key factors to win a duel is going to be your trinket usage. You don't want to use your trinket for a stun, and the main reason is that your burst damage is going to be your Immolation Aura, which is a short range, basically a melee range spell. And if you don't have a trinket, Druid can just clone you and cut your burst. So you need to avoid getting a full meme stun. In order to do that, you need to time your intercept. Here is an example how to do that. But even if you get one, I think with the right build, so with Glyph of Hellstone, maybe Bubble, you can tank it. Trinketing a full meme stun can be an option too, but then you should pay attention of the Druid instant pro to avoid getting full cloned on your burst. If you trinket a meme stun, make sure you save your coil for your burst, of course if you can. Take a look at the difference between the Hellstone healings. As you can see, if you're not using any Hellstone talent or glyph and you are in Fell Armor, it heals only approximately 4300 HP. Meanwhile, if you scale up with your Hellstone healings, you can get approximately 8400 HP back. Moreover, with a crit, it can be more than 12,000, so it's almost 3 times more than the basic Hellstone heal. Let's see what is the Pharah's and what is the log score in the duel. As a Pharah, you wanna burst down the target in Berserk or in a stun lock combo. You wanna reset as many times as you want to eventually win the duel. Pharah can reset the duel by cycloning or rooting you and they use his healings while kiting. but in order to do that, he needs to force your trinket. So as a rook, you wanna force his CDs like Trinket, Berserk, and Mad to able to CC him out and finish the duel. With Demo, you wanna burst the Pharaoh down with a CC chain rather than kiting and CCing his Berserk out. And you want to avoid that the Pharaoh reset and the opener stun combo in the duel. The positioning won't be as complicated as against the mage one. I'm gonna represent the positioning with these dots. The purple one going to be the Warlock, the red is the Pharaoh, the blue is the pet, and finally the green is the port. The duel beginning should look like this. You, your pet, and your port going to create a triangle. It's important because with this, you can stop the Pharaoh opener with your Fergal intercept, and also you can use your port if needed. If you wanna play with Voidwalker, then your pet should be closer to get the Pharaoh out. At the opener, two things can happen. First, you either force the Pharaoh trinket, or both trinkets will be used by the Pharaoh trinketing your stun and you are trinketing the main stun. No matter which one happen, the following position should be done. After you trinket it or end of the main stun, you should use port, where you can dot up, heal up, kite, and so on. But the second option can be nobody use trinket, so you can start casting fear, apply dots, use form, and so on. The next part of the duel going to be the melee or burst situation one. Most likely, the Pharaoh doesn't want to tank your burst. If he does, it should be a win for you. So he starts kiting, and your job is to stop the kite or finish the duel with casted and instant damage. You can stop the kite with CC or with damage. It's unlikely that you start kiting a Pharaoh as a demo. Maybe after a bad opener it can happen, since Pharaoh is faster in cat form, and as a demo you don't really have access to effect. If you were a distro or F-Lock, you could be the kiting one. Pharaoh CDs. There will be 3 important and 1 extra category in this topic. Let's start with the force ones. These CDs what you wanna force as fast as you can. So first is going to be the Berserk. This is an offensive CD, but also dispel and give immunity for your fear spell. So you wanna force it as fast as you can, so after that you can freely use your fear spell. The second one is going to be his Trinket. Without Zerg and Trinket, you're most likely going to win the duel. And last one is going to be his Shadow Mad. He can Shadow Mad your Coil, your cast, or even interrupt your Drain Soul. The second category is going to be the defensive ones. These two is least important, but still need to pay attention of these. The first is going to be the Survivor Instincts, aka the War. This is basically a Battle Master Trinket, so it will increase his HP, and after the effect it falls down. So when you see it's about the falling down, you can start casting at the right time or try to time well your pet attack to finish him. And the second one is going to be the Barskin. This is basically a damage reduction spell. This is the reason why you don't want to use your Immolation Aura without having any proc. And the third category is going to be the proc one. Pharaohs have two important procs. First is the Predatory Strikes. If he gets one, he can Cyclone, root you, or heal himself. It is purgeable, so there is a slight chance you can purge it down with the Fair Hunter's Devour Magic. But when you see this proc later in the duel, try to CC it out or wait till it falls off. And the second one is Nature's Grasp. It can root you or your pet. If it roots your Felgat or Felhunter, you can use your Demonic Empowerment spell to break it out. I wanna mention one important thing, and this is if you're using a start attack macro for one of your spells, try to avoid using that or make a stop attack macro as well, cause you can get full rooted like me in this clip. I wanna mention the CC category as well, but this isn't as important here I think. Pharah has a Pharah charge, which if he used in bear form, he can kick you, but only in range. Basically, you have immunity for stuns like bash, meme, bounce if you are in form, and if it survives your form, the duel is already over for you, so I don't think it's worth to talk about more of these. So what are the key points of the duels? Let's summarize that. The zeroth step is that you should start a duel with demon armor. In the duels, I never did that, but later I realized how important can it be. The first step, after the Pharah pounds you, make sure you stop the restun with your intercept, or at least force his trinket. If you failed, just use your port dot up, heal yourself back. Try to use Instaform if he decided to trinket and stun you. Make sure you to apply dots, and if you have time, try to fear it. Wait till you have procs. Use your immolation aura, do the CC chain. Use trinket and cyclone if needed, and finish the duel with your casted and instant damage spells. If you don't have trinket, try to use the immolation aura when Pharah has no proc, or if the Pharah has no trinket, then do the CC chain. Switch pet if needed. Firehanter for CS, Devour, Void for shield, and Succubus and Felguard for CC. How to win? I'm going to show you a few gameplays where I'm gonna tell you what and why it's happening. In this clip, as you can see, the Pharah opens on me with a pounce, and I intercept at the last second of the stun. Since he didn't use his trinket, I could manage to fear and dot him up. I refeared and I start bursting him down. As you can see, his HP is going down really fast. He tried to heal himself up, but it was a bit too late. Against a demo, Pharah cannot greed that much. In this clip, you can see the same opener. He trinketed the intercept stun, but I could manage to use my form to avoid his full meme stun. Even though it's going to be a window, I wanna mention here that you should never use your immolation aura like that. You need to have at least one proc, but since he used his trinket, I could full coil him, even fear him, and as you can see, even if he used Berserk, probably it would be too late to save that duel. I wanna show you this clip as well, cause even though it's a close one, I wanna show that Demo burst is slightly better than the Pharaoh's one. So after the classic opener, I use Immolate and dot him up with Corruption and Curse of the Elements. And then I pop my Immolation Aura. I got the procs a few seconds after it, so it was a fine aura usage. When I had a full proc, I used my coil to maximize my healing of it. As you can see, it was 5700. Maybe it could be bigger in Demon Armor, but in this situation I sacrificed the 2 extra global to maximize my burst damage. After that, I start casting damage on him as well. Again, I should use my port, use Demon Armor and Hellstone here, but I was so confident that I would win the duel anyways. After the port, we charge each other, and with my lucky proc I could shoot a big shadow bolt to him. He used his proc to heal himself up. Then I summoned the Void Walker to gain a huge shield and win the duel. In this last clip, I'm gonna show you the cleanest game from my POV. This is how the duel should look alike. So as you can see, I just stunned him just before he would use his main stun. So I instead used my form to block his trinket full main stun go option. But he decided not to trinket. After that I used fear to force his berserk out and dot him up as well. He used his Zerg and his skin as well. In this position, I was waiting for my proc, and in the meantime, I used my Shadow Flame and Shadow Burn to continue my offense. Once I got my proc, I used my Immolation Aura. In this moment, I had all 3 proc. I used my coil as well, which instantly trinketed. I had a lucky Shadow Ball proc, but I could just start casting my own as well. With the Decimation proc, I tried to land the Soulfire, but even if I would have not any Decimation proc, I could just use my Shadow Bolt here as well. He interrupted the first Soulfire with his Shadow Matricial, and then he maimed the second one. But by the time he was trying to avoid these, you can see his HP was not looking too good. He popped his wall. I tried to port charge him, but he was faster and he could manage to charge me before I could use mine. But as you can see in this position, Farah has no trinket, Zerk and Mad. The duel is basically over, so I casted a fear and finished him with my Shadow podcast. In this clip, I failed to avoid his stun combo by mistiming my intercept, so I could do two things. I either use my trinket, put one dot up and port, so he cannot use his mad and reset the duel, but even if he reset the duel, I can just resummon my pet and ready to stun him again. If he instantly cycles my trinket and use his shadow mat to reopen on me, then I can port after the DR stun me. But if I port first then, since Pharah doesn't have huge cyclone range, I could just switch armor and use my Healthstone to heal back. After I put one dot on Pharah of course. Or if you wanna continue his offense after I switch armor, I would just go in form, since form is off global CD, and try to cast a fear to force his Zerk out and use my Healthstone there. After that, you need to pay attention to two things. One is your proc, and second is his proc. If he has a proc, he can survive your burst by cloning it. So try to hold your burst till the proc is faded or he used it. Once you got your proc, you can use your coil and your burst to finish the duel. Or with the right setup, I think you can tank the whole main stun go, cause after that you can just port, switch armor, and use bubble, hailstone with glyphs. Or just start with demon armor. But to land his main stun is harder if you time the intercept better, as you can see in these clips. So as you can see in this clip, if you time it well, it's really hard to land the main stun in time. And this guy is using his trinket fast as well. Although I think he can just pre-trinket and main stun me, but I also think it's not the best if the Pharah wastes his trinket at early, since like I said before, you can easily counter this go as well. But now, let's go back to our original clip. Now look at my HP after the stun combo. If I would instantly port after that one, I would still have between 7 to 8k HP without a rip dot on me. But instead of that, I panicked and used my koi and tried to burst him down without any proc. He cloned me, which I instantly trinketed. I still could swap my armor to get a bigger healthstone here, but I didn't do that. But also, I was playing with the efficient demo spec, so I had no Molten skill for extra defense, no Shadow Burn to really put a pressure on him, and no Intensity talent to cast an Immolate without getting pushbacks. But I even failed to force his Zerg out, so it was a total fair duel. But at least now you know what to do in a similar situation. And one more thing, it might be better if you are playing with bubble instead of CTS. But also, if you're an orc, then maybe this isn't an issue anymore. But anyways, let's move on for the next clip. This is going to be the last clip. It started really well for me. I could manage to stun him at the right moment again. I used my form and dot him up, and I even got my procs on my immolation aura. So far, it's looking good. He started kiting, so I charged him, he cloned me, which I trinketed and used my coil to force his trinket out, which I could do. I used Drain Soul cause he was below 25% HP, and as you can see, it hits hard. But then he got a proc, and unfortunately I wasn't playing with the Destruction Reach talent, so it was impossible to finish my cast just in time. So I tried to close the gap, and I even tried to cast also, but he was already out of my range. And there you can see a key moment where I could win the duel. So as you can see, I had intercept stun, so I could just stun him and dot him up, even cast as well. But since I got rooted, cause I didn't use my stop attack macro, I wanted to remove that instantly, and this was a blunder. Also, if I was playing with Succubus build, I could just set him and finish him as well. After that, you can see my core options falling off, and because of that he used his mat, but I was fast enough and I could click just in time to put the core option back. And since I didn't force his Zerk out, he still had it. But he had no more death CDs, which is really good. I CS'd his proc to block his seal. I even stopped cast to use my Shadow Burn to finish him, but he survived with 400 HP. I think he had a hard crit with Healing Touch from his proc. After the stun, I was casting a Soulfire, which unfortunately didn't crit, but then I blundered again. Somehow I missed my Shadow Flame, so he could finish me. So as you can see, Demo vs Pharah is a fast-paced duel. It's not as complicated like against mages, especially on low per mid level. I think Demo has an advantage to beat the Pharah, but you need to remember the key points what I just gave you. With that, I wanna thanks for your watching. Hopefully we'll see each other again. Bye!